Welcome to the Fit Affiliate Podcast, where with honesty and transparency, we talk about all things fitness, coaching, and gym ownership, so that you can feel less crazy and frustrated and alone, while you also find more freedom and make more money.
And welcome back to this week's episode of the Fit Affiliate Podcast, joined by Chuck and Tony. How are you, gentlemen?
So good.
So good.
Glorious.
What
Tony
episode
with his...
number will this be? Since now we have a static meeting link. I was used to tracking it in the link itself. Now we're like,
Yes.
Unknown, unknowable. What rep are we on, bro?
This one is 39, but it may not come out as 39. It may come out as something slightly different, but it's our 39th recording.
That's wild.
Yeah. So we've done really well. We haven't missed a week, and we've had a pretty good cadence and some cool guests in between. One of our last episodes we published with Gus was our most watched on YouTube. So there you go. We've got people who are watching and liking what we do. So that's a win.
Upward we go.
Yeah, right.
Now I gotta I noticed that we also get the explicit next to us, and I'm like, yeah. That's probably never going to change.
No. Well, that's a manual choice, but I've made good life choices there for us. So, but it's good, and there are people watching and listening, and I get lots of good feedback for us. So that's a cool thing. Today, gentlemen, I thought I would talk about a topic I know that we talk a little bit about as with within Fit Affiliate with clients, and that is the value of staff meetings and the fact that I know that when you said it to me, and I'm sure you get it when you've said it to other clients initially, do you have staff meetings? You're met with a blank stare. And I tell them what to do every so often. So I thought it was a really good topic to talk about, particularly some of the bigger meetings and letting staff into their, sharing KPIs and performance and the goals for the business in the bigger meetings when we talk quarterly and annually rather than just business as usual meetings. So big topic for you both.
A bit of honesty here first is that when we do ask people if they have meetings, they usually lie to us because they know that they're supposed to have them, but they don't have them. But they always tell us they do have them. But after a little bit of digging, we realize you don't actually have these meetings. And then just so we're clear, if your idea of meetings is like every once in a while or randomly or like every 3 or 4 months, let's just say we don't have staff meetings.
Also, things that don't count as actual staff meetings. Hanging out for 15 minutes bi-weekly on a Saturday after open gym to make sure that the next week's schedule is covered. That is not a staff meeting. And getting everybody together to bitch about how somebody coaches bar muscle ups or teaches kettlebell swings is also not a staff meeting. Nor is it coaching development.
Yeah. And trigger warning, getting everybody together to critique their training is also not a staff meeting. That's simply just coaching development. That's a different conversation.
And I think that's where a lot of affiliate owners, and I know I've made that mistake, you're doing a coach development session and you go, that's a staff meeting. And I do staff meetings, or I want to do staff meetings, but, there's over the years, I know I've had pushback about, do I get paid for the time? How often do you want me to do it? What do you want me to do? How do we do this? And then you're standing up front talking and you're met with blank stares. So it can be a minefield to do consistently and do well. So that's why I thought that you guys can provide some value for our viewers and listeners on this one today.
Where do we want to begin?
Can we start with another piece of honesty in that we already tried to record this once, but we had technical errors. So there might be some times when we refer to another episode. So if you guys hear that and you're confused, I'm just going to be honest because I know I'm going to be the one that slips.
It's like the mysterious third verse.
You can email Lisa and she'll send you the broken recording with the tech errors. But I don't know. Maybe Probably not. You might get an autoresponder that's like, we could set up potentially one day in the future. You'll look in the show notes of this episode and there will be a specific email address with a specific autoresponder set up to send you a link to the episode that gets referenced that we can publish private.
That's when we get fancy. But maybe a good place to start is why? What's the value in having a staff meeting beyond making sure my schedule is covered and everyone knows they have to empty the bins and clean the toilets.
Well, so earlier you mentioned business as usual, right?
Yep.
For most people, is business as usual as pain-free and pleasurable as they would like it to be?
No way.
No, dude, like not for the owners, not for the coaches, not for the other like front desk administrative staff, or like whatever the relationships are of staff and coaches. We'll probably use the two terms interchangeably, but I think that we could all agree that it would be pretty reasonable to say that for most gym ownerships and most gym staff and coach teams, business as usual is not leaving everybody feeling very fulfilled, satisfied, happy. They probably don't feel as they're being utilized to the best of their ability. Probably nobody's quite super stoked about their level of compensation, on and on and on. So if there are no meetings, what is the opportunity to get everybody together to address the problems and work on solving them? And so if nothing else, what would the reason to not have meetings be if there are consistent problems that show up on any given day? And so that would be the consideration I would give, is like, rather than like, why should we have meetings, be like, well, give me a good reason why you shouldn't.
I mean, I think everybody knows that they should have them. I think, to kind of backtrack a little bit too in this one, we joked about it, but really understanding the difference between what is a meeting and what's not a meeting, right? Like, because just piling everybody together haphazardly or semi-regularly, although it's probably better than not doing that, I wouldn't necessarily constitute that as a meeting, or certainly not an effective or efficient one, right? And so the most common form of meeting that we definitely see in the affiliates landscape is there's a belief that, like, in the meeting we're supposed to talk about coaching development, right? Like, and that's a completely separate conversation. Oh no, that's a completely separate conversation.
Oh, no.
Chuck just off my screen.
He's gone off my.
But here we go again. His internet was so bad yesterday too. But that's a good. Well, I guess we'll just try to keep trying. Should we keep trying?
Yeah, we'll keep trying.
So coaching development is a true and necessary and vital part of the conversation. It's just not a part of this conversation. It's not part of the meeting, right? Because the definition of a meeting. Are you back? Okay, he's back.
I'm back.
Okay. That was much better than your last drop-offs in the last one, so I think that was just a weird glitch.
I think it's just an internet glitch.
I guess in theory, the classical definition of a meeting is a group of people coming together to move forward for a common purpose, right? So, like, that is kind of antithetical to coaching development, right? Because coaching development is a completely different skill set. The first question I usually have for most people in the coaching development version of the meeting is, why are you doing that? Right? Why, like, is there a reason that you've decided that that is a good use of your time? Is it necessary? Is it vital? Is it otherwise? And then subsequently, if it is, are you the right person to do it? Right? Because, like, that's a whole different conversation. There's a lot of experts out there who would certainly step in and do that for you. So let's just assume collectively that you've gotten that taken care of and you're not looking at that. And so the conversation is solely and specifically on a meeting, right? Like, trying to get my people on board to move them forward. And then help us move forward together. And I think that that's a good starting point for this conversation, because I think that just that distinction changes everybody's perception of what a meeting is. It's like, oh, now I could see why this would be more important than not having a meeting, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think, too, sometimes we, as when we're organising a meeting, it's like, bundle coach development into that, because it's, well, no one's going to want to catch up for 2 hours in a week to do two different things. Let's look. Sure. I'm just happy that everyone's committed to one time a week, and let's tick all the boxes. So then I can say I'm doing all the things.
So what is also not a meeting is there's a difference between a meeting and a lecture, right? And so I just lost Chuck again.
I never lost you guys.
And really what ends up happening
we can't hear you.
That is the problem. You can't hear me?
I can hear you. Can't hear Chuck.
Blah, 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 blah.
What does it all mean? We just were bragging about being 39 episodes in, and now here we are off the rails. Anyway, so what was I saying?
About a meeting and having the
No, really, I
the
was talking
difference.
about meetings. How weird.
Yeah, how weird.
Yeah,
No,
so
having
understanding the difference between the two of them, I think, is vital and it's important. But getting people on the same page is the next part of it. But in terms of how that stuff becomes a problem for most of you guys, is that you do schedule lectures, right? Like your idea of a staff meeting is 1 hour semi-regularly, wherever that happens to take place, at which point you talk at them. That's also not a meeting. That's a lecture.
Mm.
Chuck is very gun shy over his microphone.
No, I'm running a speed test to see if the internet's fucked up, but I got 408 megabytes per second.
I actually don't think we're not actually recording your audio now because there's no little wavy lines.
Test.
I can see him.
Yeah, I can see him and hear him, but there's nothing coming through on the
squiggly lines.
Oh, you can? Okay, cool. I can cut this bit out of the middle as well. It's okay.
I don't know what to do.
I don't know as though there is anything to do.
No, well, we can hear you, and if Tony can see your squiggly lines, that's okay.
Oh, so you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
I just couldn't see your squiggly lines in the thing, but Tony can hear it. So
when you drop off, I can't hear you, but
yeah,
I don't know if you can.
But we can see you.
My internet, I don't know. New computer, internet's good speed, so I failed to see what the issue is, but something will have to resolve.
We will continue on, and
this
I can
is way better than last time.
Oh, heaps better, and I can cut this bit out of the middle. So let's.
Because last time you were just pixelated when you were here, and then that was a very different drop off.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Let's progress then.
See, we're real people.
Yes. Things go wrong. It's not perfect. I think. Yes, you're right that we get into the habit of thinking, well, I need to stand up the front and tell everyone how it's going to be and what's happening, and not make it a chance for them to complain about anything or make my life harder, I guess.
Well, let's be real. You don't want to do that either, right? None of you guys want to do that. You do it pretty much out of necessity, right? Because you're like, well, if I don't do that, we're just going to sit around and drink beers the whole time, right? If we even do that. So it's like, if I don't bring up, if I'm not the one telling them what's important, who's going to do it? Right. And and that I think brings us to the central conversation of what is a meeting, how to run a meeting, and what's important in a meeting. And then that kind of changes the entire dynamic of what happens in a meeting, because in a meeting, it really should be conversational, right? There should be rhetoric, there should be exchanges, there should be conflict, there should be resolution, there should be all these things. It should not be you at the front with a well-manicured slide deck politicking your case for wanting to increase prices, right? That should have been arrived at and decided upon by all of you guys together. And your last handful of meetings have been I think the solution here, Ted, is that we need to raise prices, right? And that's a very different reality.
Yep, for sure. So
if it's handled well through the frame of helping everybody mutually solve problems for mutual benefit, it's very different. And I think the past trauma of kind of what we've joked about is lectures or poorly utilized staff development, or just kind of generally hey, I don't know what we should do, so we'll just do something social and call it good enough. Once you go through a good meeting and you see what comes out the other side of it, everybody's much more inclined to keep that thing moving forward, because it does make most things better for most people in a way that is objective, measurable, repeatable, it's observable. Everybody gets an opportunity to speak their mind, voice issues in a curated environment. And so really the thing is that most owners don't look at meetings as a skill. And if they choose to look at it as a skill, are they choosing to look at, what is the frequency with which practicing the skill is programmed? And are you actually practicing the skill when you do it, or are you just checking a box that, hey, we did one?
I mean, there's a pretty universal truth too in that, right? In that every high performing team, pretty much whatever that looks like, from to Google to the SEALs, et cetera, the one thing that they would certainly all say in common is that they believe in the value of meetings, right? Not only do they believe in the value, but that is probably one of the most important parts of their team development, of their team camaraderie, and of their ability to accomplish all the goals they get done, right? Like most high performing teams, in fact, all high performing teams all have one thing in common. They run really good meetings regularly.
Like that's probably worth reflecting on, because I know that that's something that was lost on me for a long time in like the games of life and business. But can you call to mind a high performing team in any context that doesn't regularly have very specific, very structured, very deliberate, intentional meetings?
Mm-hmm. And you can't. I mean, every aspect where you see that hot level of high performance, whether it be military or otherwise, or sports teams, they're meeting, reviewing, feedback, like constantly.
Yeah, but however, caveat, we've all been a part of a meeting that could have for sure have been an email, right? Like that's a big joke on the internet today, but like it's true, right? Most meetings are completely and totally unnecessary. And so more often than not, what we get from our clients is they understand the meetings are important. They understand that they need to have them. But rather than figure out how to address them and do that, most of us are always looking for reasons why it's okay to not have them, and that they just don't exist, right? I mean, I get it. We all have past trauma with meetings, but the situation is the same. The best teams do them, so they're necessary. So really the thing that's missing here is the skill set. And like any skill set, it can be learned and it can be improved and it can be obviously measured. And so therefore what gets measured gets managed.
Mm-hmm. So if that's the why we're having the meeting, what sort of, I guess the how of having the meeting rather than, and not getting stuck in the nitty gritty of it, but, you know, what sort of cadence are we looking at for most effectively keeping our team, you know, engaged and helping them push forward and having them help push us forward?
I guess it depends on what you're trying to get done, right? I mean, meeting cadence is generally much more relative to individual considerations, right? I mean, there is some things that I think are probably important to consider with it, which is, I mean, as coaches, you guys all know that like we make this joke a lot, but if you only ever worked on somebody's squat every once in a while, every month or every 3 months, they're probably not going to get very good at squatting, right? Additionally, you're probably not going to get good at fixing squats because the reps and sets and the at-bats will be too far and few in between. So there's for sure a considerable best practice, but it's really up to what you're trying to get done. Bigger goals mean more intensive conversations. You know, if you don't have big goals, you could probably space it out quite a ways.
So laying over, like if we're looking at cadence of kind of, you know, recommended minimum dose, well, you got to have an annual meeting. And that just kind of makes sense, right? Like how was the last year? Where are we at? Where do we want to go? That's real big picture. Year gets broken down into quarters because trying to go from 0 to 365, trying to go from the beginning of the year to the end of the year and just be like, maybe we'll do this. It's too infrequent. It's too big. It's too few and far between. It doesn't get incrementally broken down into like, what are the goals and the steps that we need to make sure that we realize this goal? So annual, quarterly, and then generally we would advocate more often than not for weekly. You can get away with bi-weekly with maybe like staff or coaches, but like leadership team, internal stuff, they probably need to meet week to week. And it's amazing to see the difference that consistency in meetings makes. And it's amazing how long it takes for a lot of clients to even understand replicating that in their own life within their business. Because what is the weekly coaching call? Really, it's just a weekly meeting to look at a scorecard, to talk about what's working, what's not working, to problem solve together, and to build actionable to-dos that get assigned to a real human. That's what it is. But how big of a difference does it make in those first few weeks of the coaching relationship where you're like, oh my God, if I focus on this shit 1 week, into the next week, and stop forgetting about it or getting off track for months at a time, it's crazy how fast I get to make progress in my business and in my life. It's like, right, because most gym owners unfortunately fall in the trap of like their staff, their coaches, and them are very well intentioned, but it's too inconsistent, it's too infrequent, and it's not deliberate enough and directed enough. And it's like you guys have probably been talking about adding whatever extra fucking program for like 4 months. And really it should have taken 1 week assigned to one person to bring about. Yeah. And so just it collapses time, and it allows people to have their problems solved. So that would kind of be the overview of the calendar, and kind of what gets on a minor level accomplished in each.
And we're big meeting guys, right? We get it, right? But one of the reasons for that is that we're coaches, right? And I think what's funny about this conversation is that most people would probably assume that to be a good coach, you probably need to be like some degree of extroverted personality, right? But like, so the reason I bring this up is that I think that there's this sort of belief or this dismissal about personality types and personality traits that would lead to better or worse types of meeting people. But like, I think we would also ultimately agree that Chuck is gone again. That we would agree that like somebody who teaches a seminar should be ultimately an extrovert, but that's not entirely true. I mean, I am 100% introverted in personality. I'm kind of an ambivert, I suppose, but in that I can operate really well in that situation. And the reason why this is important is that at the core of this whole thing, meetings become about effective conversation, right? Like, and that's really what this all comes down to, is that in order to run an effective meeting and in order to understand the necessity of a meeting, you kind of have to understand the needs of conversation and relationships. And so to kind of make this bigger picture, you know, all conversations essentially stems around two things, right? Consistency. I think we all get that, right? Like in terms of relationship, but like people need to know how to communicate with the person they communicate with to be able to communicate with them relatively well. But most conversation and most relationships are built on a second part of it, which is probably the most avoided thing in the planet, which is conflict, right? Most of the reason why people are avoiding meetings is that they don't really want to engage in willfully in a confrontational environment. Understandably, because, well, it's uncomfortable. And that's the only thing that humans are motivated by, is avoiding discomfort. But without conflict, there can be no resolution, right? And it doesn't mean, conflict does not mean we yell at each other. Conflict means pose a problem, explore a solution, right? Like, this does not work for me. This is why we need to solve this, right? And out of that, hopefully collectively as a group, you come up with a solution, a resolution, and then together you guys move forward to achieve that agenda, right? Without even knowing a team, you could probably see just how that would bond a group of humans, right? Like to be able to bring conflict to a conversation, mutually resolve conflict together, and then pose a solution and then work together towards that solution. It's huge, right? And it's for that reason, the single missing piece, and this is bold of me to assume, the single missing piece of almost every affiliate ever is their ability to run and engage an effective meeting. That's it. Mm-hmm. And so we love them because, well, at the core of coaching is conversation, right? And obviously as coaches, you know, big coaching guys here, right? Without meetings, you can't coach, right? Like that includes how you train your clients, right? Like not only are meetings important between you and your staff, but like, is your staff having meetings with the clients? My guess is probably not. That's a big problem because without that environment, without that place to bring those conversations, how does Steven bring to the coach the thing that he's been dealing with? Unless the coach happens to just notice it during a class when there's 20 other people doing something too, right? So coaching necessitates conversation. So in fact, it's the only really unique skill set to coaching is your ability to ask better questions and find better solutions. How do you do that without conversation, right? And how do you do that without regular conversation is probably the most important question of that. And so more meetings, in our opinion, is always better. No doubt about it. And Chuck kind of nailed it in terms of what we consider the effective meeting cadence is you need to have an annual meeting, you need to have a quarterly meeting, and respectfully, you probably should have a weekly meeting, if not a couple of different weekly meetings. right? And so I understand that could be very overwhelming from the outside to hear, because y'all don't even have like one meeting. You're like, so now we're corporate America. We're just going to sign up, and what do we do? Rent out the boardroom, and do I got to get like one of those weird like triangle like microphone things to put in the middle of the table so we can all talk into it? Like,
but wait, there's more. The annual meeting's different than the quarterly meeting, which is different than the weekly meeting, because they're very different meetings for different purposes.
Right. And so, I mean, I think the other part about this is that, guess what? You own the business. You can throw out everything you've ever learned or ever been a part of in a meeting, and you can run meetings however you want them. The most important thing is that how you decide to run them, you stick to it for consistency's sake, and it becomes very rigid. But all those meetings are very different, but they're all incredibly important for many reasons. The most important of all three of those meetings, though, hands down, bar none, is the quarterly meeting. By far. Because it is essentially where you guys check in regularly to make sure we're getting the big picture goals done. The problem with the quarterly meeting is that people mostly know that, except for that it's completely useless, totally useless, without an annual meeting to some degree, right? Because in the annual meeting, we decide together, the three of us, where we're going to get to this year. And hopefully that is on track to get to the bigger like 5-year or 10-year goals, but like where we're going to, as a team, get to together. So generally speaking, the annual meeting becomes the foundation, but the quarterly meeting is where we make sure that work gets done. Right? Let's make sure that we're on track to achieve those things and get those things done. But without the weekly meeting, how do you make sure the quarterly meeting is successful? Because Parkinson's law says that humans will wait until the last possible minute to get anything done. So if you only have a quarterly meeting, guess what's going to happen on the week before the quarterly meeting? A lot of scrambling to get shit done. So without the weekly meeting, the quarterly meeting becomes useless. And without an annual meeting, the quarterly meeting has no foundation. So now you can see how those three meetings work together to some degree, and why they're both, or all three of them are individually important, but also mutually inclusive.
Yep. And I think we've talked about this on previous calls, but one of the big things that an obstacle, I guess, that some owners might face is like letting their staff see behind the curtain in these meetings and sharing performance and performance goals, and having that fear that, oh, my staff are going to judge me, or my staff are they know too much, or, you know, they want to hold on to everything. And I know that there are still owners out there that operate that way, which would, you know, when we're talking about the big picture goals, is some of their staff would not know what the vision is, the mission is. They're just like, I'm just turning up to coach a class and not get my ass kicked this week.
How well do you think that like the mid-90s Chicago Bulls would have succeeded if it was like, hey, just come out and play some basketball tonight for a little bit?
Yeah. Or without,
like, you know, there needs to be a shared
feedback.
mission and vision, right? Like, or like,
Yep.
How well do you think the Navy SEALs would operate if it was like, hey, come in for, you know, a mission here and there? You're not allowed to know like what any of this gear costs. You're not allowed to know like how this shit actually works. We just need you to show up and do some shit.
The reserves are all you need to know about that, because everybody gets shot in the ass, right? Like, it's not an environment where you want to be in. And like the Bulls are a great example, right? Because individually, every one of those players was the best of the best in that respectful field, and none of them would have succeeded without each other. Like, so even being a star player, MJ wasn't winning without Pippen, right? You know, and Pippen and MJ were useless without Rodman, you know, or whoever else, whatever genre. But anyways, my point in that is that, like, yeah, they need to work together. And you guys, listen, as affiliate owners, you need help. That's why you end up in our inbox, why you end up in our consults. You want help. You want a team that's more engaged. You want a dream that's achievable. You need help. You want help. You're just unsure of how to get them there. And respectfully, the meeting is, maybe as dismissively as it sounds, the answer to so many of your problems. I know that's hard to grasp. You're just like, can't be that basic. But it is.
But running it well, and running it well and effectively. And, you know, I've done the meeting where you just sit there and you run through everything that you need to talk about, and at the end say, any questions? And everyone's like, nope, I just want to get out of here. And they're like,
everybody's on their phone, they're scrolling, you're talking, you prepared this whole presentation, you might even have brought in coffee, and everybody's like, oh, we get it. We've all been there, but there is a way to do it. It's a skill set. We will teach you that skill set. It's something that we're very proud of, because just like you learn to become better fitnessers through doing, it's the same thing. We put you through the exact process you need to put them through. And so it's one thing that we very proudly believe in as a system, is that if we taught you just one thing, it would be that we're confident in our ability that we teach you how to run effective and engaging meetings.
It seems crazy because most people are so far away from it, and they're like, well, I've made it this far without him. I think that a good consideration would be to look at it through the lens of fitness and think about meetings as compound complex movements. Most people working out, most people doing exercise aren't doing compound complex movements. But once you do, you realize like, oh, shit, there's something to this, that this one thing solves for a multitude of things. Not that these individual things couldn't be addressed on their own with the right will, skill, training, people, whatever. But man, those compound complex movements sure take care of a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And once you realize that, and once you build a bit of a skill set around it, you can't see and envision a world where it doesn't exist. Because you're like, you guys are all on totally different pages. Nobody has an opportunity to align expectations and reality. Nobody has a chance to bring problems to light. Nobody can work on building solutions together. Nobody knows what the mission is. Nobody knows how many fucking points there are on the board, or like what score we're actually trying to achieve. Most people don't even know what role they're playing.
I know when I first ran a proper meeting and, was asking my staff for, what do you think about this? Or, here's a problem. They're like, well, it's your business. It's like, no. We're all rowing the boat together, and having them understand that concept and sharing that information and putting our school board, on a whiteboard that they can see every time they walk into the office was giving them that sense of empowerment and ownership over a process, rather than just being told, hey, don't piss members off in your classes. Very different outcomes. And, I had a coach, I was going to make a decision, and I had a coach drag me back into my office and go, is that decision counted for in this whiteboard? Because if it's not, then that's not, you don't need to do that. We're not doing that. And I'm like, okay, this is working now.
Well, and how nice does that sound? Like, for the prospective affiliate owner out there, to have your coaches come to you and be like, hey, this isn't a problem. Let's not make it one. Let's not solve this problem by creating another one. Like, let's work on this instead.
Yeah.
Chances are that's the exact opposite of what they're currently faced with. And so this is your best opportunity to make things like that better in a way that benefits you and them personally and professionally.
Yep.
I mean, I think we could also sum up a couple of things too for affiliate owners. Right? There's like 3 universal truths of fears that affiliate owners have with coaches, right? Fear number 1, bar none, they're going to open their own gym, right? That predicates and dictates so many actions and decisions for affiliate owners. It is mind numbing, right? Like because listen, you probably did it, right? Or you saw it happen, or it's happened to you, and like it sucks, it hurts, it tears a part of your soul apart, or whatever, you were the person that did it. So now naturally, because you were the one, so you assume that somebody's going to do it to you. Like that's problem number 1. Problem number 2, as it applies to, or fear number 2 with coaches, is that putting too much belief into them, or giving them too much power per se, they're going to somehow disappoint you. They're going to upset you, right? They're going to fail to perform, and then you're going to be left holding the bag, so to speak, and then you're going to have to do it, right? Because probably more often than not, that has happened, right? We've all gotten that call at 4:30 in the morning. I'm sick, right? Like I can't come in, and so you're just like, son of a, right? And so like that is a pretty universal truth. And then the third one really is just that they don't care. And so you think that you're going to put all this energy and effort into this idea, and you're going to have to go pitch it to them, and that you're going to show up in a meeting and they're going to be on their phone. And you're like, you know what? These guys don't even care. They barely even cover the schedule, right? Like those are the 3. I mean, there's a lot more, but those are almost the ones that show up in some version of that conversation in almost every single consultation, right? All 3 of those, full stop, again, are solved in successful meetings. That's it. Because no coach is going to leave your gym and go open their own gym when they have full disclosure to all the things you're not telling them, right? Like, there's no way. Share those numbers, right? They think you're rolling in dough, and then when you're like, oh, I broke, they're going to be like, maybe opening a gym is a terrible idea, right? I mean, there's more to that story, of course, than that, right? And secondarily,
but I think that I'll let you finish your secondary.
I was just going to say that, secondarily, if they know the numbers and they do see that you're in an inconvenienced or disadvantaged position, they're going to help, right? Because that's just what humans do. But if we don't give them that opportunity, you can't be upset that they are fear number 3 and just disengaged, right? And I think that that's a big part of it that is so unfortunate, because so many gyms are engaging in that reinforcing feedback loop where they're afraid of what they're actually literally creating themselves. I know nobody wants to hear that, but if your gym is spawning gym after gym after gym after gym, that's not normal behavior. It's broken.
Yep. And that's the old saying, isn't it? That if someone's leaving your gym and opening their own, they either think that you're not valuing them enough, or they can do it better than what you're doing it, because they see what's not happening and they're going to fix those things.
And if you're not having meetings, they probably can.
Yeah.
But if you're not having meetings, how would they know that you are valuing them, or how would they know that you are struggling? I mean, without them, it just doesn't make sense.
Yep. And it's been a powerful shift in my affiliate, being able to include staff in that process and have them understand why some decisions are made, or why, all the members want XYZ. Well, let me show you why XYZ is not going to work, or how do we find another solution around that, rather than it's Lisa's way or the highway, which, is how it was on the early days, shall we say. And I can admit that.
Well, sometimes that's necessary. I mean, somebody does need to be the boss at the end of the day. But I think that a lot of this is really like well-meaning and good, and it's probably stuff that most people know. Like I would imagine your average owner listening is like, yeah, I know, I should be doing all of this. And I would assume that the primary limitation that they'll come back with as an objection would be like scheduling first and then financing second. Scheduling, I venture to guess, is like a story that you tell yourself in your head, especially given the advent of Zoom. And the fact that most gyms get the vast majority of all of the ownership and staff and coaches together to work out once a week, so you guys can get in the same place at the same time. Solving for the finances, I think, like, I'm interested for you guys to answer this to me, so that I'm not just like pulling shit out of my ass. But would you say that it would be a fair bet that doing regular meetings would probably save at least one client cancel per quarter? You think that like there would be enough value coming out of meetings, enough problems being solved, enough like congruency being built, that's a pretty low-hanging fruit, reasonable expectation, saving one client a quarter?
If not more, but yeah.
Okay, so we'll get back to that. I just want to make sure I wasn't crazy in thinking that like that would come out of it. Looking at the finances of it, maybe helping somebody understand the nature of like annual to quarterly to weekly. Annual, hey, we need to make more money. How much more money? Let's break it down by quarter. We'll work back to front because I want to like illustrate the meeting example. But do you think it would be reasonable that over the course of one quarter, we could set the goal for a team to increase a gym's bottom line by $1,200 a month? I think that would be pretty reasonable, right? We've got 3 months to come up with another $1,200 a month. Cool.
Yep.
So we'll pause on that. What do you think the average size of a gym's like team is for coaches and staff?
6 to 7.
3
for your average. 3?
I would say let's round down to 3, right? Like you probably got 3 that actually like matter and are pretty important, and then a couple fill-ins. Do you think it would be reasonable if we said that like we want to work together as a team to increase this $100 per week through the course of this quarter? Do you think that'd be reasonable for like most coaches that had some ability to affect revenue in a gym? Can you help us come up with another $33 a week? I think that like that seems fairly achievable and reasonable, right?
Yep.
And if we did that through the course of that one quarter and we had built a better bottom line of $1,200 per month, and then we did nothing else, we would have 3 quarters of additionally $1,200 a month. So like 9 times 1,200. What's that? I'm no Rain Man.
No, I'm not.
10,800. Okay. And we said that we would save 4 clients a year as a super conservative average. And I think that like most people would be like, yeah, these are crazy conservative numbers, right? Like, can you help me bring in $33 a week? Can we save 1 fucking person every 3 months? So what do we want to say the LTV of the average client is?
It's about 2.5, just roughly.
So call it 2,500?
Yeah, at your bottom end, easy.
So like by saving just 4 clients and by only having 1 quarter of getting 3 people to each add another $33 a week, by the end of the year, we've got another $20,800. Which would mean that like in retrospect back through the year, could you afford at that point legitimately like, dude, that's a $416 meeting. Either if you want to like reimburse it to cover it, or if you want to look at like the ROI that comes out of doing that, not to mention everybody's life is a whole lot easier and smoother and people are way happier. But like it pays for itself at a shockingly low level of consistency.
Yep. Rather than just letting yourself focus on the immediate dollars, look at, build it out.
Well, at some point it's necessary.
Yep.
So you can do it sooner, or you can do it later, and you can do it better, or you can do it worse.
Yep. And usually once you start later, you wish you'd started sooner and done it better. For sure.
Yeah.
Like everything.
What are all the pieces of adulting at a higher level that you're like, man, I wish I was just way more emotional and reactionary for a longer period of my life?
Yeah. Just doesn't happen.
You want help, you need help. We know that to be true. You just don't know how to ask for it. So that forum, that opportunity, that system is your ability to run meetings. And so to recap, you need 3 of them, an annual, quarterly, and a weekly. How you do them is up to you, although there is a method that we believe in that we would love to teach to you. It doesn't really matter so much as long as the one that you put in place you stick to. And that means in terms of the scheduling conflict conversation, that goes right out the window. If it's an expectation, it's consistent, and it's the same meeting at the same time each week, all the time. Yes, no doubt about it. It's very hard to get your whole staff in one place at one time when all of a sudden on a Thursday, you're trying to get them to meet on a Saturday, right? Or like you're moving the meetings around. Set the meeting, make an expectation. Financially, there's a consideration, but there's no doubt about it. If you could just save those clients, you already know it, but like there's no way you couldn't put your best people in a room more regularly and come up with an idea that even blows that thing out the water. You need it. Yep. You want help. You just don't know how to ask for it. So go solve the problem, which is how to run meetings. I know nobody wants to be the boss. I get it, because you probably all came, like, I don't know how many affiliates there are left, but probably most of them all came from some degree of corporate America. And the one pillar they stood on was like, I will never be my boss, right? And like part of that,
we'll never have meetings.
Yeah, part of that abuse was no doubt about that meeting that you were subjected to. So I get where you're coming from, but just like dealing with all trauma, it must be addressed, and the way you address it is by resolving the trauma and then doing it better, right? So take the trauma, give it closure by relearning the process, making it more fun. I assure you that meetings are the most fun part of business. Just don't bring email shit to meetings.
Yeah. And that seems like a good note to wrap it up on with the last little mic drop there. I think some good tips and strategies in there. And of course, if you really want to learn how to run a powerful, effective meeting, reach out to Fitfully. There's a link in the show notes with a code. Have a chat with Chuck and Tony. It's a great opportunity to see exactly where you need the help and to do it better. So thank you, gentlemen. Look forward to our next chat.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Fitfully podcast. If this was helpful to you and you would like to jump on a 1-hour call to solve one problem for free, click the link.